need to be thankful. I know these videos are getting a lot, but it's okay. I think what it does is just reinforce what I need to be reinforced. First of all, I just also want to thank a woman called Meagan. Meagan, you have been what needed to be shown for me to stay strong. Not only to be strong, but I think you've turned me into, your testimony has turned me into something else. And I gotta say that Meagan's story has been used to inspire this trash to create the stories they want. And it's so disgusting. But it gives me the strength that whatever I need to do, especially when I see these perps, how I need to behave, how I need to see them, how I need to react. In this program, there's many who've killed themselves. There's a lot of women who've killed themselves. There's really the goal here. They drive the target individual into insanity. Who knows how many ended up taking their own life. This woman, Meagan, is one of the strongest women I've seen. But it's clear that she has battled suicide. Meagan, if you're watching my videos, I want to thank you so much for what you're doing. But I also have to say that what's been happening to you has been an inspiration for others to create stories, to mimic your story, but apply it to something else, to create a false narrative. Meagan, this woman, is a target individual. She's a target individual who's today deal with the terrible things that target individual deals with. I've heard testimonials of her, from the sexual torture to how they handicapping her. It's so disgusting. But Meagan also has a story of a childhood that's so disturbing, because Meagan has been sexually abused and raped as a child. And if I'm not mistaken, some of the sexual abuse came from her father, which I'm sure is a traumatic experience that she's mentioned that she still deals with. This traumatic experience is something that she still deals with today as an adult. And I'm sure that, that can cause her to, on its own, to be something to push her to kill herself. But because she's a target individual, Meagan's testimonials have mentioned that she's unable to get therapy help, and she's unable to deal with the therapy help that she needs to deal with because she's a target individual. That kind of story makes me very fanatical, and makes me understand what needs to be done when it needs to be done. I swear to God, Meagan, for your sake and for all the other target individuals who are women, who are children, who've suffered like this, the people involved in these things enjoying what this program is about, because it's clearly a governmental run program, and the way they create stories and narratives and paint themselves as the good people, when in truth they are the trash and the low life, involved in something that is destroying the life of so many. Who knows how many of them have killed themselves. It disturbs me so much. The hatred I have for them is growing. But they create stories that they want to in my head, because Meagan, I don't think she deals with the same level of mind alteration. I think what they do with her when it comes to that kind of manipulation is they use her childhood trauma to break her down. And what they do is they put that in her head. They bring her back to the days when she was a little girl being abused in whatever fashion, to break her down. It's so disgusting. It's so foul. It's so disgusting, this trash. It's just another level. And for me, what they've been doing is this. They've been trying to paint themselves as these Avengers. And the most disgusting part is to paint themselves in this fashion. They've been using and taking some of the story of Meagan. Meagan today or not long ago tried to go after who abused her as a child. And as always, because she's a target individual, everything has been sabotaged. Her life is sabotaged, but also her trying to go for to get justice has been sabotaged. She knows that the Justice Department is in coercion with whatever happened to her as a child, and they're clearly making it hard for her to do anything. And she described how like the way the court system is just messing with her as she goes for her justice. But like I said, even therapy is something she can get. You're gonna hear that. You're gonna hear that. She cannot get therapy because this woman is a target individual. She cannot get help even for her trauma as a child. You're gonna hear that. Now, a while ago, she shared this number here. It's a number for like a suicide watch or something like that. She wrote this post talk about suicide watch. And as you can see, she says that you talk to real people. Now, for her to know that means that she probably called that number before and knows that she's talking to real people. That means that she got to the point where she really thought about killing herself. This woman is going through a lot. If it's the trauma of what happened to her as a child, or the trauma of what's happening today, or the combination of both, she's in a situation where suicide is something I'm sure she thinks about all the time. I'm surprised that she stays strong to this level, because not only she's dealing with her childhood trauma, but today she's being tortured in such a disturbing way. The pain that she talks about, pain that caused her to pass out because she gets these burns that this technology can do to you remotely. She talks about how her private parts get burned so much that she goes into shock. This evilness we're talking about here is the evilness that this trash doing that to me are trying to negate, because that's the evilness they're involved in. I swear to God, for all these women who end up killing themselves, from those who've been abused as children and got utilized as a test subject and end up killing themselves, they will get theirs. Now, the reason why I'm making this video and I'm trying to calm myself down is because what they're doing is they bring up what I did as a child. Now, the act of what I did as a child is something they try to exaggerate, because what they try to do is to act like they're avenging. That what I did as a child, that they try to exaggerate, has traumatized this person. That she's just been depressed because she thinks of what happened there, when in truth is they're trying to exaggerate that, and what I did was not traumatizing, but it was inappropriate. That's what a child is capable of doing. The reason why they try to exaggerate is to make it be a traumatizing event, instead of this inappropriate act of a child that's capable of doing what that child did. And they try to exaggerate to raping, molesting, using her for sexual, or like, it's so disgusting. And this is how the hierarchy of the exaggeration. She touched it, and they talk about me as a kid. You use her hand, then it goes to another level. You use her mouth, then it goes to another level. You molested her, then it gets to another level. You raped her. Molesting, raping, all of those, like or using her mouth is the extreme that they try to take it to. The truth is, I did something to myself as a kid. And as I'm saying that, I squeezed my hand. as a child in 8th grade, middle school. But because these perps are involved in this program that they enjoy being participated in, they want to create this thing as if they're avenging, you pay for what you did. And they try to exaggerate. It's like, actually, she's traumatized. One thing is for sure, it's like there's no way she even recall who I am. I don't even remember doing what I did as a child. I honestly, that was such an impulsive act as a kid at that age, that it just disappeared from my mind. And I remember a lot of other things as a kid, even younger. But that was such an impulsive act that it disappeared from my brain. That just shows the level of impulsiveness that this act was. Now, the truth is, I know that they know that too. But I know that they want to do these things that they enjoy to do in this fantasized way. They're trying to make me think that, yeah, she's just depressed by it. She tried to kill herself because of it. It's like trying to create story. And you see where she's inspired. These people are inspired by. Oh, they even go as far as she wants justice. She did that. They were taking the story and they were like, oh no, she remembers. All these stories, all this narrative came from this woman's story. Because she started remembering what her father was doing to her when she was 3-4 years old. She remembered, she remembered that. She then tried to go to court for that. And you clearly see that she obviously talked about going to the psychiatrist. And let me just, in my brain, it just keeps creating mental battle. And you can clearly see that she thought about killing herself. In my mind, to negate that, they're like, you see, she remembered, this woman remembered, yes, she remembered what happened to her, because what was happening to her was something extreme done by her father. It's not a child doing something to himself. What was done to her was something traumatizing done by her father. It was not a middle school child doing something to himself. But these trash want to paint that story, so they present themselves as the protectors and the avengers. When in reality, they got involved in a program that tortured women like Meagan, who've been abused, really abused. It's not the they talk about this. It's funny when they say it's abuse. Try to talk about what I did as a child. No, it's not. It's an inappropriate act of a child. You try to create an extreme level to paint it as an abuse. It's an appropriate act of a child that you try to exaggerate to molesting, raping, and to the whatever else. When in the reality, this woman has been abused. So her father was doing something to her. Her father was doing things to her. A grown man was doing something to her. And more than once. And on top of that, she's still being abused today. Where her body is being destroyed and sexually abused too. Now, the reason why they want to negate or exaggerate my act of a child in 8th grade that you see a kid that age is because what they do is so evil that they want to do it in the sense of like the Avengers and the Darers. When in truth they involve in a program that not only do that is to women like that, but children are being abused. They are abusing children. What I mean by abusing, let me just give you an example. You're going to hear the testimonial of a child as young as 7 years old being suffocated. That's abuse. You're going to hear children 3 and 4 years old. Sorry, as I said, I was trying to say something else and they messed with my lips. 4 and 5 year old with Down syndrome, they grabbed their private part because something via this technology was harming their private parts. That's abuse. A 3-year-old experienced the same thing as the 4 and 5 year old, grabbing his private parts because his private part was being harmed the same way that you hear Meagan, this woman, private part gets harmed. He grabs his genitals. That's abuse. That's tortures. That's harming children. I can't allow this trash live this fantasy when they're abusing and killing and torturing children. You want some more child abuse? A 9-year-old got blinded for a few days. That's abuse. Kids start having seizures because they get hit by direct energy. That's abuse. Kids get so sick that they start spotting in their skin gets spots because they're getting hit by this technology that destroy immune systems and the body as a whole. That's abuse. This trash are taking the story of a woman that was abused as a child, is getting abused today as an adult woman via this technology, who can't even get the therapy for the trauma of her childhood, who's trying to get justice for what happened to her as a child as she was abused by her father, who is suicidal. Oh, let me just say, contemplate suicide to the point where she called that number to know that this number is you talking to real people. Now I know that many target individuals have killed themselves. That's a way to get away from what's happening to them. But to take the story of this woman and then apply it's like, no, she's in trauma. She thinking she's depressed. She's talking to a therapist. She actually tried to kill herself. She wants justice. Taking all the story of this woman who goes through that for real and try to apply to this. And listen, I know for a fact that she doesn't even remember me. She doesn't know me. I didn't even remember what I did as a child. That's how impulsive it was. I know for a fact she doesn't. I know it was not a factor in her life because I talked to her father, by the way. I talked to her father a while ago, even before me even knowing what I did as a kid to myself. He was like, she has no clue who you are. So I know my act of a child couldn't even impact her. Now if they tell me that, oh, they told her, it's like, okay, that means that you have to like say something in order, because that means that they didn't even impact her. But as you try to paint yourself as these avengers, this is where they get these inspiring stories that they apply into my life. The woman that wants justice for what happened to them as they've been abused as children. This woman that wishes they can get therapy. This woman. Women that contemplate suicide and call suicide numbers like that. This woman. Women that were abused as children, and this woman. But the abuse is no need to. They literally abuse children in this program. I will never, ever, ever allow them to do this. I can't. I don't minimize what I did as a child. I just take it for what it truly is. But they're minimizing what they do to women, to children, and then exaggerate what I did as a child. It's so disgusting. I cannot allow them to, one, play this to the children, avengers of women or children. I cannot. Who knows how many of them have killed themselves? How many children are dying? How many women are dying? How many women will be killing themselves? This program is designed for that specifically. And we know in this program there's a lot of women. And this trash around here are participating in that. I don't care. You know, for me, when I make this video, it's not for me to reach them. There's no reaching. When we see each other, I swear to God, for all those who've killed themselves, I will make sure I bring the reality in their faces. It's funny how they say it's their court. I'm like, exactly. That's why she can't get justice for her abusers, for who abused her. It is the court of these people running this program, not this retard delusional trash. You're right. It's when they tell me it's their court, like no, I know it's this entity's court. This is an example of that. Why do you think she can't get to the entity, to whoever abused her? It's because it's their court. Target Mitchell, stay strong and see this trash for what they are.
And I was dealing with a lot of feelings, and I was supposed to go make an appointment with a psychiatrist, and I had to help me deal with like crying and everything. I assume just like PTSD, just things today, stirring up feelings from times that have passed, and like really intense feelings. So I was hoping to get medicine to help me cope with it. But anyway, so I made like an appointment in like July, like late June, early July. And I showed up to it was supposed to be like an online kind of thing, and it was like just a whole bunch of bullshit. And then in the end, the person didn't meet with me, and then suddenly they also didn't take my insurance. And these kind of things have happened. Like last year, I tried for like 3 months to get a mammogram. Suddenly this year, this company, I complained about this actually to a couple of people, and then suddenly this company just happened to get my number and call me, and they were like gonna schedule me an appointment. But I was supposed to get like a mammogram for somebody who's experiencing pain, which is supposed to be like bilateral, and I'm small chested, so like it doesn't make sense to do the roller machine thing. They're like, there's not much to put in here. So anyways, I didn't end up getting a mammogram because they weren't, and then suddenly, like, I had 2 or 3 physicians refer me to get mammograms in the past like year and a half. But then whenever I go to get the mammogram, suddenly it's like a walk-in facility, but then suddenly it becomes an appointment-only facility, and then it's like 6 or 8 weeks out. And then whenever I go, they don't take my insurance. So you see, this is like a repetitious pattern, and I don't know. I think it's like just something like just like lasers basically on my body just to try to make me look gross or something. It seems weird that would be like a weapon of war. Like, super strange, or things have happened. Anyway, so it's just, I was super discouraged after that happened. Like, I had been staying with someone and doing work with them, and it was like, I started staying with them on a Friday, and like Monday, suddenly my counselor couldn't meet with me. Friday, the psychiatrist couldn't meet with me, and like Thursday, my phone suddenly didn't work anymore, and it was just like, I don't know, it's really weird. And the week before that, hold on, maybe it was the week before that, maybe it was even that same week, my court case got dismissed on the basis of jurisdiction. And it was like one of those things where you have like 2 weeks to respond, and if you don't respond in 2 weeks, we're gonna make this decision. Well, I told the court that anything they send to me takes 2 weeks to a month for me to receive it. So if you tell me to respond in 2 weeks, like, it's probably like a month later whenever I get that. So I'm smiling now. It's been a rough couple of weeks. And just kind of coping with some of the things that I like, high level trauma that I deal with if I'm living in a house, which of course like sleeping in the car is super scary because I'm a woman and it's super scary. But there are things that are really scary about living in a house too, and they're high level, difficult to cope with. was talking to a friend of mine this week, and she was talking about Sasha. She was talking about like feeling like no matter what decision you make, it's going to be the wrong decision. That like you have like almost like you're forced to make some decision, but like no matter what it is, it's not like each outcome is a negative outcome. And I was dealing with a lot of feelings like that, feelings that like things have happened to me that have caused me a lot of difficulty and just like really intense feelings. But then if I try to get like help to cope with those feelings, like the same system that did that shit to me keeps me from getting help. And just like feeling like, you know, like I bought the lie that I live in some place where there's freedom and justice, and I thought that my experience was unique. And now I think that my experience is a truth and what I believed was a lie. And that most of the people that I meet live in some variation of the same situation, or in some form or fashion, where like I'm told that like even presidents get prosecuted if they commit crimes, but the reality is my government has protected my abusers and even caused them to abuse me, and that since I was a child, when I was a child. And just like feeling like those ugly, helpless feelings, like I couldn't protect myself when I was 5, and like feeling like a lot hasn't changed since then, like, and some things have changed, you know, some things have changed, but just like those feelings of helplessness, of like not being able to really help myself, feeling like I can't, like someone's claiming some kind of jurisdiction over my life so that I can't like get housing. I've worked for humanitarian aid organizations, I know how they work, and feeling like the resources are for people but not for me. And part of that is why I stopped working for humanitarian aid organizations, because I felt like I couldn't help the me that needed help. Like that person was just calling and getting answering machines if their calls went through at all. And that's what it feels like. It feels like, you know, on the surface there were people that were involved in the things that happened to me, but the reality of the situation is I was put into the care of the person who I later knew as my father. And in December I remembered being sexually abused by somebody who looked a lot like him. And I don't know, I remember being in some place, some facility, that wasn't a hospital, but I've told myself my whole life it was a hospital. And I remember when I saw his face, I kicked him in the face, and I was like 3 or 4 years old. And I don't know what would make me respond that way. And the sexual abuse that I just remembered in last December, like, I wonder if, I mean, someone put me into his care. Someone told me you're going to get a mother and a father, and only he showed up to get me. And I wonder if he did that to me before then, and they just put me right back into his hands. And that's very possible. That is very possible that that's exactly what happened. And I don't remember the sequence of events. My memory of the sexual abuse, like the man looked like my father, but he wasn't as tall, and that's super hard to explain. Anyways, my phone's gonna die. Deep breaths. Yesterday I went to the beach and like drank a couple of beers.
Experimental fact. Frog muscle contract.
Other side of the letter, it would say, oh, this is bad, or have changed, really help myself. Looking at myself in the camera is helping, but I'm having bad PTSD. Just that mostly means that, well, I guess it's not regular PTSD because the back of my neck is being vibrated on and it's making my hands and feet numb and my whole body shake. And I revert to like some mentality of like a 4 or 5-year-old. I don't think it's PTSD, but I don't know what else to call it exactly. I just feel vibrations on my head and my voice, and my thoughts aren't like a person my age when this happens to me. But I just feel afraid. And I don't know what to do, and I wish this would stop happening to me, and I wish that I was allowed to have help and be okay, and I don't think anyone's really allowed to help me, or they get into trouble. And that was true when I was little too. I'm just not coping very good. I don't feel like everything is alright. I shouldn't have to go through the same things as I did when I was little. I sent the Department of Justice a cease and desist and told them that they're acting in coercion with the entities and people that child sex trafficked me. And then I wondered if I wanted to, if it was safe, or if I was having bad psychology to send it. Like, because it made me feel like I was putting myself in more danger. But I just felt like I had to send it, and maybe I think there's someone good on the other side of the letter that would say, oh, this is bad, or I don't know. I'm afraid maybe that's not true, and it's just gonna get me killed. It's hard to tell the system that they do bad things because it always wants to believe that it's good. It wants to believe that I'm shaking, that I'm bad and the system is good. And the system has raped me and done bad things to me so that it could say that I'm bad. And it's good. Like, if something really bad happens to me, it means more really bad things will have to happen so that the system can say it's my fault. because the system has to be good and believe that it's good. And so that means I have to be bad if it does something bad to me. Disabled. Pray for me, please. Hey, I just woke up after a pretty rough night. The same thing happened last night. It was whenever I was trying to go to sleep, the private parts of my body began being burned again, and it felt like someone pushing out something inside of my body. So yeah, that's what I am up against today. But the abuse last night was pretty extreme. And your mouth feels just like my teeth are like pressed forward, and I don't know. It's a lot of strange things. I've been doing some research, I guess what it's called, organized stalking. I'm called a targeted individual. But the abuse last night was pretty extreme. I can feel it's gonna be the same again today. Already on the harming of the private parts of my body. Don't really know what to do. I tried to go to a doctor to get some kind of pain medicine, because what actually happens to me, what is happening to me is my actual physical body is being burned. And so it causes me to go into shock, and it's excruciatingly painful. And I have my limitations on the duration and length of pain that I can handle. So it was a couple of weeks ago, I asked him what he was doing there, and he said that I needed to stay in my room. And I asked why, and he said that essentially they wanted to keep an eye on me for a while. And I was like, okay, for how long? And he was like, well, we haven't decided that yet. And I was like, all right, well, I'm leaving. But it definitely felt like if I talk about what's happening to me, that I'm being retaliated against. And I know the logical mind is like, well, everyone can't be involved. But it seems that, I don't know, if the government has the right to watch and the proper paperwork, just walk right in and take over a hospital. And it seems that that is a very real reality in a lot of capacities of the things that I've faced. So today, just kind of just feeling some pretty general fear about my own safety, because the government's burning the private parts of my body. Sometimes it feels like a laser. People's to control. Just like feeling like those ugly, helpless feelings, like I couldn't.
So this gets into
Why? Because it hurts. I
painful of my body. Today I'm actually dealing with something that's like it's different than the burning the private parts of my body. It feels like somebody is trying to literally like cut the inside of my body, of my vagina, and I'm bleeding, and it's like bright red blood, and it's extremely painful.
Experimental fact. Frog muscle contraction.
Connie's testimony.
have a house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms.
Ms. Catherine Nestor.
My name is Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MKUltra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages written in here that is very similar to Connie's testimony. Please do not wait 70 years to investigate this. I ask Dr. Amy Gutman to begin today.
I am currently a speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic, and they used her to threaten the most torture in me as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions. I observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe
and have had a decent education. I live in El Dorado Hills, California, with my wife of 14 years, Lorna, and our 5 children. Nicole is 15, Patricia 14, Christopher 13, Dylan 9, and Avery 16 months old. Not only have I been going through this, but my entire family has suffered right by my side. We have all experienced the same type of harassment on different levels. We have all suffered the same symptoms while this harassment was going on. Some of our physical symptoms include severe tooth decay and vision loss, unexplained rashes and burns, severe headaches, mood swings, anxiety, thyroid problems, high blood pressure, heart problems, vision loss, and cancer. Two of my children were born premature, which I attribute to this. Our son Dylan, now age 9, was born very premature. He was born at 31 weeks. During her pregnancy with Dylan, we were being targeted more so than other times. At the delivery, there were weird men walking and waiting around the hospital. Right outside our delivery room window, there was a white cargo van parked with 2 suspicious men inside. They were there the entire labor, a delivery. Our son had to be transported to another hospital 45 minutes away. When arriving to the Toa hospital, those same men and van were present. Three of my children have severe rashes that have not been explained by several doctors. These rashes have been present for several years at a time. If interested, I will gladly furnish you with detailed photos of the rashes. Our infant daughter, at 3 weeks old, was diagnosed with Lerner syndrome. This was after a severe rash appeared on her body after a few days of torture. We were told by a couple doctors to take her home and love her and spend the rest of the time we have with her. They told us she would ultimately die from this syndrome. Thank God that Lerner syndrome was not what affected our daughter. Doctors are still dumbfounded by her rash and symptoms. Sadly, we know that her symptoms were effects from the torture this poor innocent 3-week-old baby endured.
And I was supposed to go make an appointment with a psychiatrist, and I had to help me deal with like crying and everything. I assume it's just like PTSD, just things today, stirring up feelings from times that have passed, and like really intense feelings. So I was hoping to get medicine to help me cope with it. But anyway, so I made like an appointment in like July, like late June, early July, and I showed up to it was supposed to be like an online kind of thing, and it was like just a whole bunch of bullshit. And then in the end, the person didn't meet with me, and then suddenly they also didn't take my insurance. And these kind of things have happened. Like last year, I tried for like 3 months to get a mammogram. Suddenly this year, this company, I complained about this actually to a couple of people, and then suddenly this company just happened to get my number and